Japanese milk buns. Now in Japan, bread is not a traditional food, and this style of bread became quite popular after the Americans post-World War II. So in Japan, they make this delicious bread, and of course it's very rich traditionally in milk, but today we're going to be making a plant-based variety, and it's using something known as a tanzong, which is we take a portion of our flour and create a roux, cooking it to pre-gelatinize those starches. And what this is going to do in our recipe today is create this signature, soft, tight crumb bun, and it's also going to extend the life of the product without adding any type of additives or preservatives. And we're going to start off with our tanzong, which is our roux. So I've measured out my portion of flour for our tanzong and our measurement of our plant milk, of course, and I'm using soy milk today, but you can use your favorite type of plant milk. Just make sure that it's unflavored and unsweetened. So I put my plant milk in a little bowl here, and we're just going to slowly add our flour, whisking until everything's nice and smooth. Now once that's all whisked together, we can add that to our saucepan. And on a low to medium heat, we're going to start cooking this, continuously stirring until it looks kind of like mashed potatoes or a pudding-like consistency. So I've been cooking my tanzong for a few minutes, and as you can see, it's got to this really nice thick consistency. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to pop that into a bowl. By pre-gelatinizing our starches in our roux for our tanzong, it's going to allow our bread to maintain a lot of that moisture, absorb more moisture, and also extend the shelf life of the product, create the unique signature texture of the Japanese milk bun, which is very, very soft, slightly chewy, and just cover it with some cling wrap. I'm going to transfer that to the refrigerator for about 30 minutes just to bring it down to room temperature. So we can finish up on our Japanese milk buns. Our tanzong has cooled down. We're going to add that to our stand mixer bowl. Now, of course, you can do all of this by hand, but it is much easier if you do have a stand mixer. And then we have all of our other ingredients. So, of course, it wouldn't be a milk bun without milk, but we're making a plant-based version, so I'm using soy milk today. But you can use any type of plant milk that you like. We have sugar. Our yeast, of course, and I'm using a dry active yeast, or you can use the fresh variety. You'll find the measurements in your dashboard. We have some vegan margarine. This is the firm variety of margarine, so at room temperature it will have the same texture as butter. It has a higher fat content. We have our salt and our flour. Now I do find it's a good idea just to add like maybe half of the flour. And I'm going to mix this up first just to kind of get everything started. And again, we just want to start slowly until everything starts coming together. Now once you can see the dough has started to come together, we can now increase the speed to speed 2, and we're going to knead this until we get a nice gluten development, and so we can do a window test. So we're going to turn that up to speed 2 and then check it in about 6 or 7 minutes. So let's have a look at our dough. Now I could see when it was mixing, I'm not sure if you can see, but you will notice that when it's not ready, it's still going to be stuck on the bottom of the bowl. When we know that we've developed some good gluten structure, it's going to lift all the way up from the bottom. I can still see that it's a little bit sticky, so we're going to continue mixing this for a few more minutes and then take another look. Now I can see it's starting to lift off the bottom of the bowl. So I'm going to switch that off and we're going to double check by performing a window test. So let's get this bowl off so we can take a better look. Now to do a window test, I like to just grab myself some water. I've just got some in a spray bottle here, just to wet your hands. We're going to take a little bit of our dough and we want to open it up so that we can create a nice window. We want some good gluten structure, so we don't want it to break immediately, but so you can kind of see the light through it. See how I'm kind of pulling that between my fingers? So just before it starts breaking, and that's the perfect texture that we are looking for. Now I've just pulled out a nice big container here, and we're going to grease it with just a little bit of oil. And that's just going to stop our dough from sticking. I'm going to transfer our Japanese milk bun dough in there and allow us to do our first proof. So just transfer your dough into your container and we're going to, I'll let you just flip that over just so the oil's on both sides, and we're just going to squish that down into a nice level piece of dough. And I'm just grabbing here a pen and just marking where that line is. See how I've just marked there where it is on my container. And we're going to come back once it's doubled in size. So hence why we've put our little marker on. So once we can see that it's double that, then it's ready for our next step. Proofing, and it's been about an hour or so. It's quite warm in my kitchen. And it's already doubled. I can see that it's come above the line. So we're going to get this out. You can see it's nice and puffy. And we're going to start doing our shaping. So what I like to do is just put a little bit of oil down onto my bench. Not too much, just a little bit. And we just want to punch that dough down just to get that gas out. So for each slider, I'm going to be using 33 grams of dough. Now to roll it into a ball, what I like to do is just flatten out my dough and then bring in all the corners into the center. Flip it over and we're going to give it a good roll and tighten. And that's our little slider bun. So just pop that onto a tray lined with some baking paper and continue on with the rest. Now that they're all rolled out and on my tray, I'm just going to cover these with a tea towel and just set them aside for about 10 minutes. And for our classic size, we're going to be using 100 grams. Now that we have that all scaled out, we can roll these into balls as well. So the same thing, just deflate, and then we're going to bring all of those corners to the center, pinch them together, flip over, and then roll into a nice tight ball. Now you can put this onto a tray lined with some baking paper, again like we did with the smaller ones. However, what I do really like, if you do have access to getting these silicone molds, these ones are specifically for the hamburger buns, so that will help create the perfect size for your hamburger buns. So just pop your ball into each one and then continue on to shape your remaining portions. So just cover with the tea towel and we're going to set that aside for 10 minutes. So we've had our Japanese milk buns resting for about 10 minutes, and that's just allowed them to relax a little bit. So at this stage, we're going to press them down to give them their signature shape, because we do want them to look more like hamburger buns. So just gently press them down a little. All right, so once those are pressed down, we're going to go over them with some plant milk. So now we're going to set those aside to proof, so until they get double their size before we put those into the oven to bake. Now your Japanese milk buns have doubled in size. We're going to go over with another light brushing of our plant milk. And now these are going to go into the oven at 200 degrees Celsius, and then we're going to put it down to 180 and cook for about 15 to 20 minutes.